Everybody, so pretty interesting. The ADL's Jonathan Greenblatt seems to be having a meltdown right now over Zohran Mamdani's win as New York City mayor. He was recently on MSNBC's morning show with Joe, and this is what he had to say. Take a listen.
That young man, and if he's 34, I can call him a young man. He won like the greatest landslide probably in New York history. I mean, certainly in recent times. And he used that moment to say that he will fight anti-Semitism in New York and stand shoulder to shoulder with his Jewish brothers and sisters.
So again, I'm going to judge him not on what he says in a speech, but on what he does over time. This morning, and I will tell you, I've gotten so many calls from Jewish New Yorkers who are alarmed. Their kid was harassed in college. Their child was bullied in K through 12. Their synagogues vandalized. So here's what ADL is doing right now. If you are a Jewish New Yorker, we have your back, and we will hold Mamdani, Mayor-elect Mamdani, accountable. Look, it's not.
So let's just stop right there. First off, I want to just scroll right to the beginning just so you can see this dude's face. He is so infuriated that Zohran Mamdani won. That is so evident. Why is that? Well, it's really, how much does it have to do with actual anti-Semitism versus anti-Zionism? We know that Jonathan Greenblatt, this dude right here, has went on television stating that there is no difference between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. So when he says he's concerned about real cases of anti-Semitism in New York, which is he talking about? Because I'm going to be honest, it doesn't seem like he's actually concerned with real cases of anti-Semitism as much as he's concerned with anti-Israel policy in New York. And what's so interesting about all of this is we actually had many Jewish New Yorkers campaigning for Zohran Mamdani. On top of that, Torah Jews, it's a large group of anti-Zionist Jews. They went on social media and actually put out a statement saying, no, Zohran Mamdani is not a threat to the New York City Jewish community. We strongly oppose these divisions to conflate the identity of Jewish New Yorkers with the state of Israel. Such actions misrepresent our true allegiance and undermine our fundamental Torah values. And then they also have this longer statement here. They go on and say that this is not based, their voting decisions are not based on foreign interests, specifically those of the Israeli government. Our choices are solely guided by what we believe is best for our city, our country, and our Torah-observant lifestyle. So I find this so interesting that so many Jewish New Yorkers, I mean, about 30% of them voted for Zohran Mamdani, but of course the Anti-Defamation League's Jonathan Greenblatt thinks that it's still a threat. So let's go on and play a little bit more of this clip and kind of dissect it one by one, because seeing him go hysterical over Zohran Mamdani's win is really interesting, and it makes you kind of beg the question, what's the deeper reason here? What else is going on? Take a listen.
That young man, and if he's
at fighting anti-Semitism, I hope he undertakes steps to keep Jewish New Yorkers safe. But it is my job to make sure that every Jewish New Yorker isn't living in fear.
That's what I want you to do. At the same time, you obviously you want to judge him by what he's saying now, right? And what he does moving forward, not a tweet in 2022 or 2023, right?
So we will judge him on the people he appoints, on the policies he implements, and on the programs that he launches. I want to know, what's he doing in the education system? Will it be fact-based or politicized for our kids? I want to know, will Jewish houses of worship and JCCs continue to be protected because they're under threat? I want to know, is he going to change the purchasing policies because of his ideological commitment to BDS? Potentially hurting the pocketbooks of New Yorkers. Look, he won yesterday, and I saw the previous segment.
So again, let's just stop right there. There we go. Now we're starting to get a little bit of exactly what's going through Jonathan Greenblatt's mind. I want to know if he's going to be affecting using BDS policies to affect the purchasing decisions of New York. For those who don't know, BDS stands for Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions. It's actions taken against the Israeli government, the state of Israel, and not purchasing Israeli products because they are involved in occupation and apartheid in the West Bank. So a lot of purchasing decisions by many companies follow BDS, and it's an international movement. Now, of course, Jonathan Greenblatt is saying he doesn't want to go have New York take part in BDS initiatives that might end up hurting the pocketbook. So is Zohran Mamdani going to choose something that's more expensive because he wants to follow BDS policies? What I'll tell you, honestly, is even if something was cheaper or at the same price of a product that follows BDS sanctions, so a company that's not implicit and working with Israel, Jonathan Greenblatt is still going to have a hissy fit over it. There's actually been this article, or not this article, but more so this PDF that's been circulating recently on social media. And really what this is the Anti-Defamation League has been announcing a tracker to monitor Zohran Mamdani. This article that you're seeing here, or this document, is something that's been put forward, and it's not by Zohran Mamdani's administration, but it's by an organization that's going to try to push these policies on Zohran Mamdani's administration. And if you look at what they are here, they're divesting city pension funds from Israeli bonds and securities, withdrawing city funds from banks that lend money to Israel or do business with Israel, end city contracts with companies that do business with Israel, operate city-run grocery stores free from Israeli products. That's what Jonathan Greenblatt was touching on. This part's really interesting. Investigate real estate agents hosting illegal sales of stolen land in West Bank. That doesn't really seem like anything controversial. It shouldn't be. This should actually be pretty bipartisan. You shouldn't probably allow real estate agents to sell stolen land in the occupied West Bank. You'll have Zionist state, well, it's not stolen land in the West Bank. It's actually called Judea and Samaria, and it's not stolen land. No, it's stolen land by international law, by the vast, and over 95%, 99% of the world, aside from the United States and Israel, very well believes it's stolen land. It is. There's no issue with taking action against that. It goes on, removing nonprofit status from charities that raise funds for the IDF. If you're raising funds for a foreign military, that doesn't seem like it's really following nonprofit guidelines. I don't want tax dollars, and people don't want their tax dollars being used to support this in any way whatsoever. And when you're giving nonprofit status to an organization, they don't need to pay taxes, which they should be, to helping benefit the city, but they're not. So that way they can go ahead and fund a foreign military. Absolutely not. All of this seems pretty rational. And none of this here, what you're looking at, is really something that should be, it shouldn't be a left or right issue here. Now, of course, the media and the mainstream Republican Party views on Israel want to make this a left versus right thing. But prior to the 1990s, all the way up, 1960s, 70s, 80s, U.S. policy towards the occupied territories has been pretty consistent when it comes to the United States not recognizing settlements. Now, the United States allowing Israel to build settlements while they turn a blind eye is one thing, but actual U.S. policy has been pretty consistent with this. So, of course, the man is freaking out over this, but really, it doesn't seem like anything very radical. At least to the average person that's like, okay, we shouldn't probably be supporting this. So let's go on a little bit more with Jonathan Greenblatt's rant. And then I also want to play a part of this where you start to see Joe Scarborough actually kind of speak back and call out Jonathan Greenblatt for this double standard here.
That young man, and
my hope is the mayor-elect will do so in the days and weeks to come. Okay. But in the meantime,
but you're not suggesting that he supports the firebombing in Colorado.
Never said
you're not suggesting that he supports the firebombing.
I never said that.
You might not.
Joe, I never said
that. There's a lot of blurring and blending here, Jonathan. And I love you, and you're on all the time, and I'm always a fierce defender of yours. But you seem to be like blurring a lot of things together and then looking into that camera and say, call us. We're going to make sure that he doesn't support the.
I say to Jewish New Yorkers, call us if you feel unsafe. Okay. I say to Jewish New Yorkers, call us if you are harassed. And so let me clarify.
How about you calling his.
So again, let's stop there. First off, I want to make it pretty obvious. Obviously, if a Jewish New Yorker feels actually unsafe, then that's an issue. Nobody should feel unsafe. Nobody should feel like they're actually being harassed. The thing is here is that Jonathan Greenblatt is trying to make a trying to blur the lines between anti-Israel policies and somebody feeling unsafe in the city of New York. And that's what the ADL's initiative has been for a very, very long time. And that's really the issue here. I mean, there has been, and this is an actual thing, Virgin Airlines had a in-flight menu that included the meal Palestinian couscous on its in-flight menu. Couscous is a type of grain, and it was just a Palestinian dish. Israelis and Zionists felt that the Palestinian couscous on the in-flight menu was an attack against them. They felt offended by the in-flight menu. The Stop Anti-Semitism account on X, along with supporters of the ADL and people within the ADL, called the Palestinian couscous, it's a dish. It's a dish. It's a dish of food. They called the dish anti-Semitic for including the word Palestinian. I'm not kidding. And Virgin Airlines, somehow, I can't believe that Virgin Airlines actually allowed this to happen. They removed it off the in-flight menu because they think it offended people. Not only did they remove it, they then went about issuing an apology for it. So basically, Palestinian identity offends them. Like, completely. Oh God, no, I can't have no Palestinian stuff whatsoever. We can't do this. We can't have a damn Palestinian dish on. That offends me. So when I see somebody like Jonathan Greenblatt, coming on here and talking about how they're going to be tracking Zohran Mamdani, are they going to be tracking him because of simple things like this? Because they've been doing it up until now and they've gotten away with it. And finally, and what's actually happening is that they're scared because, and when I say they're scared, I'm talking specifically about these Zionist organizations that focus on pro-Israel policies, like Jonathan Greenblatt. They're scared of the fact that Israel is losing its grip on America. And Israel needs that grip on America because Israel simply couldn't survive without America. It just couldn't survive without America's backing. Nuclear weapons doesn't mean survival. Israel has nuclear weapons as a final solution if things really hit the fan. But the truth of the matter is Israel could not survive with the finances of America, with the consistent weaponry backing of America. It couldn't. It would have to capitulate and end up doing diplomatic negotiations with the surrounding Arab world. And the United States backing it is finally starting to seem like it's not something they could depend on, and they're crashing out over it. So the Israeli government is using its arms, which are the ADL, which are the Israel Lobby, which is AIPAC, and they're using those organizations at their disposal to make sure the United States is still entrenched with Israeli policy. And what's happening is the world is waking up to it, and Americans are waking up to it, and they're being like, no, this isn't okay. One of the main reasons that somebody like Zohran Mamdani won, and this isn't even to, really, regardless of whether or not you support his policies as a democratic socialist, I'm not even going to talk about that. So whether you're left or right and you don't agree with his democratic socialist policies, we have to have an honest conversation about why did the guy actually win? Why did he actually win? And a lot of the reason he actually won is because for once, people have been fed up. Americans are fed up with this pro-Israel cucking almost, where you hear politicians and they will not shut up with this amount of kissing the boot of the state of Israel. And one of the things that really made him win is, you heard it, I mean, during the mayoral debate, everybody's being asked, where is the first foreign country you would go? Everybody said Israel. And the only person who said, I would stay here in New York and focus on the citizens here of New York, was Zohran Mamdani. I genuinely think that's what made him win. And the debaters all immediately backlashed at him. Sorry, the hosts of the debate all immediately backlashed at him, saying, well, do you support Israel's right to exist? Do you support that? Everybody watching, the vast majority of Americans, is like, what the hell is going on? Why does Israel matter for a mayoral election? And that's what got him elected. Candace Owens said recently, actually, she said that she found Zohran Mamdani's campaign similar to Donald Trump's campaign, in the sense that for once you have somebody that's very anti-system, that's saying things that are upsetting the the political dynasty in a way. And he's coming out and he's saying things that are really refreshing to hear somebody just being authentic and not giving a damn about the establishment. So aside from that, of course, Donald Trump and Zohran Mamdani's policies are, night and day. That aside, the campaign itself of people feeling like there is something refreshing is really what gave him the win. Okay. And whether on the left or the right, if Republicans want to win, they're going to have to do the same thing, which is why I'm like super supportive of somebody like Thomas Massie winning an election, is because when people hear Thomas Massie speak, they can tell he's being authentic. They can tell he's not bought out by the billionaires. He's not bought out by a foreign nation. He's just truly pro-America. And that's what people are craving now. And whether or not you agree with democratic socialism, the reason he won, the reason Zohran Mamdani won, is because it's finally somebody coming forward and not seeming subservient to the interests of a foreign nation or to the interests of billionaires. That's what the truth of the matter is. So we'll see how things unfold moving forward. We can go ahead and just like look at some of the tweets here about it. The ADL completely ignored the takeover of the GOP by literal Nazis, but the hysteria about a Muslim winning an election, almost like they hate their group themselves. And then it goes on. The ADL has created a Mamdani monitor, which will actively track and record any policies in New York that impact Jewish New Yorkers. The ADL's plan is to use this data to potentially impeach or denaturalize Mamdani, which is pretty insane. I don't know if he's actually... Jonathan Greenblatt's made any statements regarding impeach or denaturalized. And then the Anti-Defamation League, again, announces launch of initiatives to track and monitor policies and personnel appointments of the incoming Mamdani administration and protect Jewish residents across the 5 boroughs. And it just goes on and on and on. Fun fact, the ADL actually, back in the 1990s, was hired by the South African apartheid government to track apartheid activists, anti-apartheid activists here in the United States, because Israel was worried that if South Africa apartheid falls, then Israel would be next, which says a lot about Israel. If you are worried that the apartheid in South Africa falling would mean the next target would be Israel, what's that saying about the way Israel views itself? Take a minute to really think about that. Clearly, they're concerned because they feel internally, whether they want to admit it or not themselves, that they're partaking in some form of apartheid in the occupied West Bank, where you have settlements literally taking the main roads, Palestinian villages taking the back roads, settlers with weapons, Palestinians with nothing, settlers going on a rampage, doing whatever they want, Palestinians basically just being cattle to them. And when Israel sees that, it feels concerned that it's going to be the next target. And for once, it's all kind of coming into the light. So anyways, that's enough for this video, guys. If you found this interesting, please click the subscribe button below. Would appreciate the support with some super chats and gifts. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.